One. Hello and welcome to the LGBTQ Real Estate Podcast, where we connect LGBTQ homebuyers, sellers, and real estate pros since 2007. Today, my name is Jeff Berger. I'm the host of the show. I'm really excited. Tomorrow starts Pride Month, so my mind is kind of going in every which direction because we've got a lot going on here with the month and programming. So, with that said, today we have a very special guest. I say special from my heart. I know Jenn T for approximately 10 years through LGBTQ real estate marketing. She invited me on her podcast back approximately 10 years ago, and I still listen to that to this day. I enjoy it, and I always look back at the history of marketing. So I think that's super important. Jenn T is an award-winning author, a nationally recognized speaker, and savvy publishing strategist. She's the founder of Publish Your Purpose, the acclaimed hybrid publishing company that gives first-time authors the secrets to getting their books written, finding an eager audience, and making their place in the publishing world. Publish Your Purpose is a certified B Corp social enterprise that meets the gold standard of socially and environmentally friendly business practices. And the reason why we invited her on the show today is because so many realtors I know are either thinking of writing books or have written books. I know probably a half a dozen realtors that have written books. So our format is typically 15 minutes. People have a short attention span these days. Let's get it started. Jenn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it.
A pleasure, an absolute pleasure. We used to see each other at the NGLCC conferences, which is the National LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, and you typically speak there, and we would network. And you're really highly acclaimed in this field, and it's really an honor to have you on the show. Share with us a little bit about yourself, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, so like you said in your intro, we go back at least 10 years. I think it's probably longer than that at this point, which is kind of crazy. And I used to go by the personal brand of the professional lesbian, and I did that for about 15 years. So if you type in that word in any search engine, lots of information, my old LGBTQ consulting work comes up. And so my focus was very much on the external marketing to the LGBTQ community, and then the internal communications to employees within companies of those organizations who were trying to market externally. So it was kind of hitting both directions, because what I found was that there was a need, that there's so many companies who are like, yeah, especially now that Pride starts tomorrow, right? Where there's so many companies saying like, yes, we're so great for LGBTQ people. And then you actually have conversations with the employees on the internal side, and you're like, oh, that is not true at all. And so my work kind of really spanned between those two, I guess, functions in an organization. But back in 2017, I closed that side of the consulting business to focus on book publishing. And at this point, we have about 55% or so of our authors are LGBTQ professionals in some way, shape, or form. And so it's still my way to kind of carry on that LGBTQ advocacy work in a lot of ways, and marketing work in a lot of ways, just through through other people, which is kind of a really cool evolution.
That's amazing. Yeah, people find their places, and I know you've been very successful at both. So it's exciting. It's exciting. And like you said before, with the corporations, sometimes they're so large, they really need that bridge, which you facilitated. So that's really special. And back then in 2017, it's not like today where everyone has a DEI office and, a person that's in charge of that. And, back then those initials didn't even exist. People didn't even know the word diversity in these companies, just, HR, human resources. And yeah.
So, it was kind of wild. Like, it was the wild, wild west when I really started getting into this field in 2006, 2007. Like, I really remember it being, Pink Banana Media. And I don't even remember what Matthew's business was.
Yeah, Matt's Gallery.
Yeah, I can't even think of what it was called before it was Pink Banana. But then, and Community Marketing Inc. They were like kind of the only two marketers out there that were doing LGBTQ work. And there's a couple of others, but they were, I
Yes,
feel like, the
Tom Roth.
primary ones, right? And then
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all of a sudden it just blew up, and now everybody's out there claiming that they're, you know, a marketing expert or a DEI expert or whatever it happens to be. So it's been a really interesting evolution just to see in the last 20 years how things have dramatically changed.
Yes, yes, agreed. It got to be a crowded space, and
Mhm.
sort of like everyone turned into a social media expert,
Mhm.
back then. And yeah, well, yeah, it's going back a long time now. And yeah, I remember Matt Scalarud and Tom Roth both spoke at the first NAGREP conference. So those guys have, really been, forerunners in the field as well.
Yeah, and
Agreed.
Bob Whittick.
Yeah, yeah,
Was
Bob
another
Whittick,
one.
sure, sure.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Whittick
wild.
Combs.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Those were the
Yeah.
simpler days.
Yeah, yeah, they were. And when spaces get crowded, they often get very competitive,
Mhm.
and the LGBT community doesn't always play nicey nicey in the sandbox.
Mm-mm.
So it's a little strange. But then again, nobody does.
Yeah, every
In
industry
the
is like that.
sandbox, even children, steal each other's toys and you
Mhm.
know scratch each other. So
Mhm.
it's nothing new.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, with this book publishing company, I know you have so many LGBTQ clients.
Mhm.
What is it you think working with the LGBT community it is that you enjoy so much, in addition to you identifying as LGBTQ?
And I'm curious if this is similar within real estate too, but I feel like there's just a sense of ease that is hard to replicate. So, if I'm having a conversation, or like if you connect me to somebody or I connect you to somebody and they're also part of the community, it's just a different type of conversation, because I think, at least in publishing, there's a lot of publishing companies out there that are not fully inclusive. And there's a lot of
Hmm.
companies that have, like they're censoring authors' words in some form or fashion. And so I think that there's a sense of home when I have a conversation with somebody who's part of the community, and they might have been kind of going down these different paths within publishing and realizing, like, wow, I have a conversation here. I can tell that they don't fully understand me, or I can tell that they're going to want to kind of change the way that my story is told, or they're going to want to censor my words completely. And so I think that there's just that inherent level of trust that's like, oh, if this is owned by an LGBTQ person, I am also an LGBTQ person. This seems like an easy marriage, because we don't have to worry about that censorship piece, because I think that is what is definitely coming up for a lot of people, especially around book banning, because book banning is rampant across the country right now, and I think it's just going to continue to get
Yeah.
worse and worse. And I just posted a meme on one of my socials just last week saying, like, the majority of books that we have published would 100% get banned. And I think that is like something that we're very proud of. That, what that means to me, that we're doing something good in the world if there's someone that's willing to ban the content of this book. So I think it's just, to me, I think it's easier. And I feel like it's similar in real estate. Like, I have a couple of friends who are both real estate professionals, and I have worked in selling two houses, buying two houses, with an LGBTQ realtor. And I feel like there's just something that is just a different sense of ease in that process, because you don't feel like you have to justify yourself or justify your identity, or, elaborate on things. It's just kind of like, oh, like, because it's not a big deal, right? We know that, but
Yeah.
sometimes people on the outside don't get that.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, you said that so well. And, for someone that's looking, everyone has this idea one day, they're sitting down with a cup of coffee and they're getting all jolted up and, I'm going to write a book and, and then that, buzz fades and you go back on with your day. But a lot of people are serious about writing books. It's not always just a fading idea. There's so many books. I know, like I said, a half a dozen realtors that have written books, and probably more if I really dug into it. So, for someone that's watching this, um, tell us a little bit more about Publish Your Purpose, okay? And specifically, I know there's so much to it. There's a dynamic, and your information that I'll include on this YouTube video, links to your information, make it really, really simple. And that's what I love about working with you. You keep everything very simple. If someone wants to know how to publish a book, here's 1 to 2 to 3 pages of what you're going to do to get started, and that's it. Because if you go any longer, people disappear.
Mhm.
You got to keep it simple. And I'll include your very simple information, but in a nutshell, for the purpose of this podcast, and then people can click over to that. Tell us how, for example, realtors or anyone seeking to publish their story can do it.
There are so many directions I could take this question, but I think that the bottom line is having a clear vision for why you're doing it and having a clear plan on how you're going to do it. I think those two things are the crux, and I could honestly lecture for 15 hours on each of those things. But I
Mm-hmm.
think what happens is that we think about a book and we think about the monumental effort that it's going to take to write a book. But if we just break it down into those smaller parts, like the book of or that phrase of like eating an elephant one bite at a time, it is truly that type of scenario where if you're thinking about it, just start doing it. Even if it's just opening up a notes app on your phone or sending yourself an email or making a bullet point list in a document somewhere of ideas that you have, I think just the act of putting it down somewhere will help free up your mental space to allow for new ideas to come. And then the more you kind of just like think about it, put something down, think about it, put something down, it starts to kind of internally validate, does this feel good? Is this something I should be pursuing? But I think if you have a clear business objective for why you want to do it, or you have a clear mission objective for why you want to do it, I think that really is what helps kind of get through those tough times, because the writing process and the publishing process, they have hurdles, right? But they don't have to be super high peaks and super low valleys. They can be somewhat evened out, but you just have to have the right kind of knowledge set, which is why I focus so much of my effort on the education side of things, so that way people can kind of come into the process, have an idea of what they need to do, and then go off and get it done. However they're going to do it, there's plenty of options, but at least they have a baseline level of knowledge that will help protect them as they're kind of moving through this process.
Great. And your company, Publish Your Purpose, you assist people from the beginning to the end, correct?
Yeah. We help people with the writing and the publishing. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. Because, for someone that's watching this that's never written a book, that really does want to write a book, I can recommend, wholeheartedly Jenn and her company, because, she's a doer. She's not someone that just started this and, is winging it. She's in the industry and she does it day by day. And how many books have you assisted with publishing?
We're right around 150 right now.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I'm on my seventh. Personally, my seventh book is coming out in September or October. So yeah, we've got plenty of books in motion at the moment.
Awesome. And what is your latest book? What's the concept of that?
Well, it's actually perfect for this conversation. It is called Publish Your Purpose: How to Write, Publish, and Grow Your Big Idea. So the whole idea is a comprehensive book that helps someone go from the beginning, like I have this idea, to having a plan to actually being able to get it done. And so it's a completely all-inclusive, because again, going back to education, I really want to help as many people as we can. And I understand sometimes that economic barriers might be the thing that stops somebody from being able to work with us. So putting it in the form of a book where it's $20 or free, if someone, needs it for free, then that to me is helping more people kind of get their message out there, even, regardless of what path they might be going about doing it. I want them to know what paths are available and be doing it with intentionality, so they can really see the success that they're looking for.
That's awesome. Wow, your seventh book.
Yeah. Yep. I already have ideas for an eighth. So it's nonstop. I've been writing for the last decade. It's like a compulsion at this point.
Great. Well, it sounds like a good compulsion. You're not, you're doing a great thing. And you're helping people, and the name of it, I think, is great. Publish Your Purpose, because, these days it really is about your why. It always has been, but it really is about who your why and who your audience is, and, building your tribe, and, and that's what the LGBTQ community, I think, is so important. We have that ingrained tribe. People speak our language. They understand the struggles, the things that we've come up against, whether it be being bullied or whether it be, coming out or, sharing stories with family that aren't, as typical as they might have sounded 20 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah.
So especially our generation, I'm 53 years old, things were very different. I was born in 1969, uh, coincidentally, just 6 months after Stonewall.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
it's a different generation. The new generation has a I don't even know if we could say better, easier time with it because, look at the turmoil that, the new generation of social media and, all that, good and bad has brought. But
Yeah.
time will tell. I'm always an optimist.
Mhm.
I'm what they call a pessimist, which is an optimist with experience. That's
Yeah.
how I define myself.
Yeah.
But I do keep a positive outlook. My head is up, my thumbs are up. And well, this is amazing. I'll include all the information that I mentioned, the link to your user friendly information that someone can use to get started. We're just a little bit over 15 minutes now. Let's ask our last question. Okay, besides helping people publish books and everything else that we talked about, when you're not working, what is your favorite thing to do?
I love being outside. It doesn't even really matter what I'm doing outside. I just love being outside. So whether it's kayaking, skiing, biking, hiking, just anything that gets me out and away from screens and my desk, I am in favor of and moving my body.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, Jen, thanks again for sharing this time with us.
Appreciate it.
For anyone watching this that wants to know more about it, of course, right there on the cover is Jen's website, publishyourpurpose.com. We'll also include her email, phone, and some other pertinent information to this YouTube information part. And yeah, thanks again and wishing you a great Pride Month.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks, Jeff.
A pleasure. Thank you.